So yesterday I showed you that I was carrying wood up to the porch, firewood up to the porch. Well, Carolyn decided that she wanted to bring some of that firewood in, so she cleaned this space up. We've used this space last year. It's not much. I mean, it's just maybe 3 feet wide, maybe 2 feet tall. When the stove is on, it tends to suck the moisture out of it, not the green, you know, the green that I keep talking about. You got to test it, and it's 20%. But when you bring it in here next to the wood stove's, you know, I don't know, 5 feet over there, the humidity and the moisture and all that stuff gets sucked out of it. Running a wood stove is very dry. It makes the atmosphere very dry. I guess winter in itself does that as well. We put a pot of water on the stove. It humidifies it okay. So bringing it in here keeps it out of the elements so it doesn't get rained on or snowed on. It dries out even more. And then, like I said, the dry firewood is so important, the 20% or less. I actually have 2 moisture testers. They've got 2 probes on it like this. You turn it on, and then all you got to do is just jab it right into the wood. And I know you're not gonna be able to see this, but it does say 13%. Now yesterday when I cut it, it was at 18%. So as you know, I cut that right there yesterday. So over the 24 hours, it's lost 5% right there on the surface. But if I were to split that again, it'd be back at 18% in the center here. I have 2 of these. This one was a little bit cheaper, so I abuse it quite a bit. It's actually got a bent tip on it. The other one, I just kind of call it my fancy one. It was like $5 more expensive, so my goodness, that's my fancy one. But I keep it inside and use it when it's, you know, next to the stove or whatever. This one, like I said, I've lost this one outside several times, and it took me a couple days to find it. So if we get rains on, it's my outside one. Now they do say when you use these moisture testers that you're supposed to let the wood and the moisture tester come up to the same temperature. There is a thermometer on this. It tells you what the temperature of the moisture tester is. So you do set the moisture tester outside if you're going to moisture test outside. Let it soak is what they call it, so you can get the same temperature as the wood. Or if you bring it in, then you want the moisture tester the same temperature as inside the house. So this here, believe it or not, it's the whole point I showed you, I almost forgot, it will last us 2 weeks. This little bit of firewood. And that's why I've been trying to explain why it's so important to live off grid in a tiny house. This tiny house, 200 square feet. And just today somebody said, well, you should build your tiny house, you know, another 100 square feet, because that's what code was. That's hindsight is what that is. When we built it, I thought it had to be 200 square feet in order to be able to build it without a permit. Now I know differently. On a trailer frame, we could have built it bigger. But the tiny house concept is still really important. Under 200 square feet, even if I decided to build it again, I'd probably build the same size. It's just easier to heat. If I wanted to run an air conditioner, it'd be easier to cool. And then, of course, we have the buddy heater. I've talked to you about the buddy heater. We ran that quite a bit in the springtime because running the firewood, it was always wet. We were running out of 20% firewood as it was. It only had dried for a year, so not all of it was dry yet. We got 15 years worth out there. So we were getting into it where I didn't really want to run the wood stove that much anyways. But when we did run it with all this oak, it'd get pretty hot in here, so we'd have to open the windows. And I just felt like you're letting heat outside. To me, firewood is just like using gas or electricity to heat your home. If you open the window, you're letting all that energy outside. Well, the same thing. This takes work, a lot of work to cut. And so if you're just opening the window and you're heating outside, it doesn't make much sense to me. We did run the buddy heater, and the buddy heater, you can buy those for like $100. I think I got mine for like $80. It was refurbished, factory refurbished. I guess, you know, somebody takes it back, returns it for whatever reason, and send it back. And then they fix it, whatever the problem was, and sell it at a cheaper rate. I used to work for Pazload, nail gun company, and we refurbished them. I don't know what they did with them after we refurbished them. And it heats about 225 square feet. Yesterday, we were talking about pellet stoves. And that might be an alternative to a wood stove. And it costs about $500 a year on average to run. And I don't know if that's still any better than anything else. I just haven't had gas or electric for so long. I don't know if that's cheaper. My assumption is it is cheaper. I'm still suggesting that if you can get a wood stove and get firewood, that is the best route to go. Now, I understand people are going to say, oh, I don't have property, I can't get firewood. Well, if you do what I did, I didn't cut down any trees that didn't need cut down. I only cut down like 2, and those were in bad shape. But everything I got was free. There was a huge tree that fell down in a city park. I asked around, finally I was able to find out if I could get it, and I got that. A lot of you are going to remember that. It was huge. It had to be, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet in diameter, maybe 6. Well, I don't know if it was quite as tall as me. It was, yeah, it probably came up to here on me when I finally got it cut. It was so big I had to leave the biggest portion of the trunk behind. But some of those limbs were as big as trees, you know, regular 14-inch trees. They were huge. In a little tiny house, that tree alone will last me 5 years. Then got on free apps, and that's an app that you can download it. Get on your store, your Google store, whatever you got, and you can download Free Stuff app. And there it monitors Facebook Marketplace, and they're always giving away free firewood. One guy is clearing a little spot on his property out in the middle of nowhere. He said, you come and clear it, you can have firewood. So that's kind of good for him and for me. You know, if I were to do it, I don't need firewood right now. But you go over there, you clear out a few trees. As long as he doesn't say, okay, you got to clear it all out, you know, those kind of things. But there was a cul-de-sac that was being put into place. You know, they were knocking down all these trees, and they cut those up last year. I don't know, we got like 5 or 6 truckloads from that. And then there's just some people that do spring cleaning. You can get free firewood with that. This is going to become pretty necessary as prices go up. Now, I recognize the government is doing whatever they can to ban wood stoves. And that's why I'm trying to suggest now that you need to get it now. Even if you don't want to install it this year, if you're thinking this is something you're going to want to do, you may want to go get one from Home Depot. Everybody keeps asking me what the model of mine is. I don't know. Well, I do. I have the owner's manual, but it's not important because mine they discontinued. You know, each year they got to improve the efficiencies of them. Well, mine was 85%. So now they've changed the name of their company and they're selling a different brand name. But you go to Home Depot, and I don't know, it's like Hearth, H-E-A, not Earth, but Hearth, H-E-A-R-T-H, something like that, Haven or whatever it is, I don't know. But you can find wood stoves there. They're $1,288. But I've been saying that you can find them on Facebook Marketplace every now and then. We got ours off Facebook Marketplace for $450. Carolyn just saw one the other day for $300. But that being said, people have asked me about propane heaters. Aren't you off-grid if you had propane, they said. Well, I don't know. It depends on what your definition of off-grid is. I would imagine a lot of my viewers or commenters would say, that's not off-grid. Because as much off-grid as I am, I don't have any electric utilities. I don't have any water utilities. I'm not hooked up to anything other than the internet. You're not off-grid. You still get groceries every now and then. You know, we go grocery shopping once a month, and you know, we have a pickup truck, so that means that we're on grid. But it really depends on what you consider off-grid. If I got a 500-gallon tank, if I could figure out a way to make that work with the permits and all that, trust me, every time I say that, somebody will come up with in the comment section and say that you should do this, and I'll Google it, and sure enough, you can't do it. Propane's pretty dangerous, and so it's highly regulated. Highly regulated. So we buy these 20-pound tanks, hold 5 gallons, and we get them refilled. I get a military discount, so instead of paying $14 or $15, I'm paying like $11. So like I said, we used a buddy heater last spring, on the cooler days, but not cold. You get up in the morning, it's a little chilly in the house, you turn the buddy heater on for an hour or so. I personally didn't like doing that. If I could have ran the wood stove, I might have. I might try to do that this year because our wood is all dried this year. I can cut up some smaller pieces and I won't have to worry about getting it so dang hot in the house and all that stuff. So I probably will try to eliminate the buddy heater because I think we went through like, I don't know, 10 cans, 10, 20-pound cylinders. It may not have been that many, but it was close. It was definitely 7. And those being $11 a piece, that's $77 that we're paying for heat for a month or two, whatever it was. I know we had a pretty cool, long spring. It was cold for a long time. It was cold clear up to June. So I would have rather have used wood than pay that $77. Now back then, I wasn't getting it refilled. I was going to the Dollar General and I was buying cylinders. And the reason I was is because I wanted to get enough cylinders that I could go one trip. It's like 40 miles away to get this propane. It's the only place available and it's a discount. So I wanted to have enough that I could take, you know, a bunch of it down there and be worth my trip. So what we try to do is it's right across the street from the place we go shopping. So about once a month, we'll go shopping and we'll take these 10, well, I don't think we've ever taken more than 4. So that makes it worth the trip when you're getting multiple things and you can fill up more than one cylinder. If you're gonna look at propane, if you get the tank, you're gonna have to have it professionally installed. You're gonna have to have a propane furnace and all that. Now they do sell this thing called blue flame heaters, and you can buy those, I think, at, I don't know, maybe Home Depot and Lowe's. And we had considered buying one of those. We still may buy one of those one of these days, although I'm pretty satisfied with the buddy heater. The only problem with the buddy heater is it doesn't have a thermostat, so that means you got to turn it on and turn it off. So just like all off-grid stuff, it's manual operation, just like the wood stove. It's on or it's off. It's not much of it in between. I don't understand why it fluctuates in price so much. It's a byproduct of gasoline and diesel. So when they're making gasoline, they're making propane. And then they store that propane in caverns or caves or tunnels or something, and it just sits there. Propane lasts forever. It's the tank that wears out, not the gas. I've talked about that before. I guess what makes the pricing so up and down is trucking cost. I guess when diesel prices are high and they have to bring this propane out, it costs a lot of money to ship it. I've heated homes with propane twice in my life. And when I was a lot younger, it was hard to come up with that much money all at once to buy that much propane. I would recommend, if you're going to do something like that, you really need to focus on the house itself. It needs to be well insulated and small. And if you're going to do a buddy heater like we do, that thing only does 225 square feet, so you're going to need to put it in a one room. I wish they'd have had those, I don't know, maybe about 15 years ago. I used to have a kerosene heater, and kerosene was really expensive. But maybe they did have buddy heaters and I just didn't know it. But now that I got it, I really wish I'd had one of those as a backup heat source. So if you live in a house or an apartment, that'd be a really good thing to have. Take your little tank inside, put it up to the buddy heater. Now I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, don't take that tank in the side, it's dangerous, don't do it. It's not as dangerous as the kerosene heater. That was terrible. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to one of the wood stove videos that I've just made. So I hope I can inspire you to think about your heat sources for this winter. Single of your dreams. Thanks for watching.